Howdy folks, Chris Taylor here with another episode of RandomJank. Now, I know we've been talking a lot about the Guilds of Ravnica. I promise I'm not going back to it, but I am going to talk about two specific cards from Gatecrash. Now, the reason why is because it has a very specific word, or set of words, in both of them. You win the game. And if there's one thing I love, it's winning. And alternate win cons. So today we're talking about two of those cards, Biovisionary and Hellkite Tyrant. We're going to start off with the Biovisionary first. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is that it's blue and green, so naturally you're going to want to build a deck around this card that has both of those colors. The cards that I chose that help accentuate those cards, there's no crazy combo here. I just want to clone the crap out of this thing. So the first card you want in there is Clone. It costs one more, but it automatically makes a copy of itself. Then there's things like Cackling Counterpart. Now this actually costs the same amount as the Biovisionary itself, with the exception of the fact that you need two blue instead of a blue and a green. And it makes a token copy of Biovisionary, or whatever else is out there, but come on, if you're going to make a deck that says you win having 4 of these cards, you want to make 4 of these cards. Now, there's a very specific reason why I want to make tokens. If you remember some of my earlier videos, I was mentioning Populate with Selesnya, and green is the Populate color. Now, you can put in something like Growing Ranks so that you can make a new copy every single turn if you already have the token. If you also just have a lot of things coming after you and attacking you and you just want to stop that from happening, you fog the crap out of them with Druid's Deliverance. It does the exact same thing that you really need out of something to just stall it out long enough so that you can actually get your 4 Biovisionaries out there. Now, Biovisionary on its own is great, but you're also going to want to have something on the ground to stop your opponent from hitting you all the time. Druid's Deliverance is fine too, but something a little bit more attack-worthy. And I'm talking, of course, about Invisible Stalker. This is in practically every single blue deck that I've ever seen. Hexproof and Unblockable is already kind of powerful in a very creature-heavy format. And what better way than to put something like Cypher onto an unblockable hexproof creature? And the card I actually want to talk to you about is Stolen Identity. Now, you make a copy of any creature that's on the field as a token so that you can already start populating with your Growing Ranks and Druid's Deliverance, and you cipher it onto your Invisible Stalker and keep hitting your opponents. Now, it's obvious that I haven't actually built a deck around this yet, and I'm going to tell you why as soon as I'm done talking about the other creature that I brought up earlier, Hellkite Tyrant. Alright, so you may have noticed that with the Biovisionary deck, I talked about a bunch of cards that were actually in Standard. With Hellkite Tyrant, it's a little bit different. It's already a big expensive creature, and the Standard format right now is just a little bit too fast for it. And it's also not an artifact-heavy block the way that Scars of Moradin was. So, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to dip into a few more older cards, and I'm going to start off with Mycosynth Lattice. Now, what this card does is it makes everything that's already on the field an artifact. And considering that you want to have as many artifacts as possible on your side of the field so that you can get to that 20 and win, you want to be able to do that on a relatively obvious basis. So turning your opponent's stuff into artifacts is what you really want to do. Especially since every time Hellkite Tyrant hits an opponent, you get all their stuff that way. Now, you can't always guarantee that you're going to be able to cast both of these things at the same time. You might only have one Hellkite Tyrant and no Mycosynth Lattice. What I find is very easy to do is just stuff the deck with a lot of cheap things, hopefully free casting cost. And in the older sets, we had Memnite and we had Ornithopter. Now, both of those come out for 0. You can stuff your deck with 4 of each and it's going to be okay, as long as your opponent's not really hitting you too hard. Now, the best thing about the Scars of Moradin block is that they had a lot of things that not only were artifacts, but helped make artifacts. I'm talking specifically about Liquimetal Coating. Now, that just takes any target thing of your opponent's and turns it into an artifact for you to steal with the Tyrant. I know, Mycosynth Lattice will actually fix everything, but let's face it, that's in a perfect world where everything works out the way you want it to, and unfortunately, not every game is going to work out the way you planned it in your head. Now, since we're already targeting things, let's start targeting the creatures, because you know a deck like this is going to take a lot of time to actually be successful. Your opponent's going to have enough creatures to try and wipe you out, so add in a Zathrid Gorgon, turn all of your opponent's creatures, one at a time mind you, into just defender artifacts that you can then steal again with the Tyrant. Sure, they're still defender creatures, but who cares? If your opponent's going to be attacking you, he's going to be attacking you anyways, and you can use those creatures to stop your opponent from hitting you, even if they die in the process. Now you may be asking yourself, why didn't I actually bring an entire deck list with this? Why didn't I just show you all the cards that I'm using with these decks and, really do a full video on each one individually? Well, the answer to that is I want you guys to show me what you're capable of. Take these 2 cards, make the best deck absolutely that you can, and let me know, because I'm always interested in seeing other people's work. Alright, so before I actually end this video, there is something I want to bring up. Again, it's about Ravnica. I'm really sorry. I promise all the guild stuff is done, except for what I'm about to tell you. See, at the end of April, the new set's going to be released, Dragon's Maze. And the videos that I did previously about all the guilds are actually going to come in very handy. See, the way this pre-release works is going to be very similar to the way the other one did. You choose a guild, you get your guild pack, and you make the best deck that you can, hopefully around the colors that you actually chose. However, instead of getting like 6 boosters or 5 boosters plus your guild, you get your guild, you get the 4 boosters of the new set, and you get an extra booster that's from another guild from the set that you didn't choose. Okay, hypothetically speaking, you choose Dimir. It's from Gatecrash. You have blue and you have black. So your hidden pack is actually going to be from Return to Ravnica. So you might end up with Azorius because it shares a color with blue, or you might end up with Rakdos, which shares black. As long as one of the colors shares and it's from the set that you didn't choose from, you're getting another guild to go with it. Now, 3 out of the 5 videos that I posted were already in this format, so you can actually look back at what I've already done and try to get some more ideas for the things that you might want to do with your sealed pool if you go to the pre-release at the end of April. So that's it for me. Like I said, give me the absolute best deck that you can with the 2 cards that I already talked about. If you live in the Montreal area, hopefully I'll see you at the pre-release at the end of April, and I will see you next Friday with another video. The one that predominantly the game is kind of built around and that most people are going to be playing with their friends anyways. Now, there are 2 different single-player versions. There's Limited and Constructed. One of those decks where a lot of creativity comes out, and you have the opportunity to use a lot of cards that work together that weren't necessarily printed around the same time, so you didn't get a chance to see them how they work together.